All right, we're live. Mobile podcast. Kind of a weird idea I had to ride around and look for deer and tell some stories, but joined with Jeremy Ballantine, who's the lucky recipient of a Iowa tag. How do you feel about that?
Pretty excited. Got it in the mail today, so it's official. I'm going to be in Iowa for most of November, long as it takes.
Yeah, you said late October, and then
Yeah, I think I'm going out around. I'm going to go out around Halloween. Spend a few days scouting. I have got waypoints everywhere, all over the public out there. So I've got a rooftop tent. I'm going to stay mobile, keep hopping around, and try to shoot the biggest buck of my life. And it's pretty much the goal.
what's funny is right now there's a 150-inch buck just like chilling in some security cover.
Yeah.
Completely unaware that a Vermonter is going to come out and smoke him.
That's what I always said about elk, because it'd be about end of July, August, and I would call my buddy that I hunted with. I'm like, hey, you know what? There's a bull, real high elevation right now, full velvet, staring off into space, chewing his cud. He's going to be living in Vermont, after September.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
So hopefully there's a 150 to 200-inch buck in Iowa with my name on it.
So what are you looking for like, obviously this is your first time going there and like you don't really, I mean, it's Iowa, so there's some sort of expectation, but like what are you looking for? I know you're going to stay till you get it done, but what's realistically your what are you thinking?
Well, I mean,
like old, real super old deer hangs around too long under your stand.
Yeah, that's the thing. I gotta figure out what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna stick to it. It's taken me 5 years to get the tag, so I really want to shoot something with giant antlers.
Yep.
That's my goal, is to try to shoot something 150, 160 plus. And that's a matter of trying to find a 5-6 year old buck in that state. They're there, man. I could shoot a 200 incher. They're there. It's Iowa, and it's going to be, especially getting into that November 10th through the 15th. Man, I don't want to shoot something too small and be sitting out the peak of the rut, when them bucks are on their feet cruising, because you never know what's going to be. There's the spots that I've been looking at. I've been looking at a lot of pinch points. There's some really good funnels by creeks, and there's a lot of water access I'm looking at. So I'm going to take a kayak. My main goal is just getting away from people and trying to find some spots that are overlooked, and just doing stuff other people aren't willing to do, whether it's walk 2 miles because there's no access, and it's if anyone's got access, they got private ground access, but that's going to cut down on my hunting pressure big time. And I just figure if I go out there and put the effort in that I put in around here. Of course, I didn't get out there in the spring to do any spring scouting, which I was really.
Yeah, but I don't.
I think it would.
You're
just
killing
been
big deer in
overkill.
New England, so like I don't think you're gonna need. Like
Yeah.
in-season scouting is gonna be plenty for you. You're gonna figure them out.
I think I'm just going to stay mobile, stand on my back, and hang and hunt. And I'm pretty excited. I think it's gonna pan out. It's just a matter of not shooting one that's small.
Yeah.
Trying to. It's going to be
well,
really
small,
hard.
small to their standard.
Yeah,
which
to
is
their
like
standards.
120.
Even 130 or.
Yeah.
A 130, 135, 140 buck could be barely a 3-year-old out there. I really got to just take my time and
realize it's a different animal.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a really hard tag to draw. It's not like I can hunt the state every year, so make it special. I got tons of scouting involved in Massachusetts and Vermont, so no matter how long it takes me to hunt, when I come back home, I'll be able to hit the ground running with all the scouting I've got done, and I'm sure I'll be able to put a lot together once I get back home. So I'm gonna give Iowa every bit of time that I need and really shoot a monster.
Yeah.
That's my goal.
Yeah, if you come back, like you said, mid-November here, like you're in the the freaking mix.
Yeah,
It's perfect time.
I've got rut stands already hung.
You can just go to them.
Yeah, I know what I'm going to be doing, and to help me out.
Are you going to ding out a few cell cams before you leave?
Yeah, that's the goal. Is when I get back from elk hunting the end of September, I'm going to put some cell cams out on some distant, pinch points and stuff. And I've got the doe groups pretty nailed down in a lot of these mountain ranges. So, if I get back and it's peak rut, just get in some of those pinch points in between doe bedding areas and sit. But I mean, I figure this is a really rare tag, so I'm really gonna give it a lot of time out there if I need to. But 150 or better buck walks by, I'm shooting him. But
yeah,
there's always that dream of there's 200-inch deer running around out there. I don't have them back here, so
no,
it's exciting. I can't wait, man.
And for someone who's run as many cameras as you have for as long as you have, not to say there never was one, but
man,
I don't know.
Yeah, I've only found a handful of 160 plus ever in the Northeast. In my area of the Northeast, different areas of the Northeast they shoot better antlers, but
yeah, it's so diverse through.
Yeah,
I was wondering about this cut. Honestly, there's a few open areas that this was cut quite a few years ago.
That's where they are right now.
Yeah, I was hoping to catch one standing, but who knows? I guess for the people who are listening to this, there will be a video on YouTube of what we're doing, so you might want to check that out if we start seeing them. I got the video camera, we got binoculars, whatever we see, we're gonna film. But yeah, dude, that's I'm excited for you.
It's gonna be
like
cool.
I like taking somebody who's a really good hunter from the Northeast and throwing him into Iowa is like, you're almost just go to the big woods.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go to what you're used to.
Yeah, I'm just gonna. I'm looking at a lot of water access. So I mean, I've always wanted to kill a buck and either pull him behind a kayak or put him in a canoe or something like that. And
yeah.
If I can use water to, if you get in a boat or you put on waders, you're eliminating 99% of all hunters. If
that's
you
a
can
fact.
just go that one extra step. So it's either go in water or walk more than anyone else is willing to, or just find an overlooked spot, and that could be close to an access and it's just overlooked. It's just a matter of me getting out there and figuring out where the security cover is, and it's going to be all on the fly. But there's a lot more deer per square mile out there. So.
Oh yeah. Can you go a day without seeing deer out there? I guess
it's
you could.
hard.
I guess you could.
Yeah, in the Midwest, it's pretty tough to find a tree you can sit in without seeing a deer.
At least does and fawns and stuff.
Yeah. When I used to hunt, Ohio, it was a lot of fun. I mean, I'd see 20 some odd bucks from the stand in a week. So, and that was knock on doors in public. So, Iowa's even better than Ohio, from what I hear. So. It's just a matter of staying mobile and just keep the determination and hunt hard.
It's almost like you were. I use a motocross reference, like you trained on a really rough, sandy, gnarly track, and then you get to the race and the track is perfectly smooth. It's like,
yeah,
I got the training, I can go.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you trained in like the hardest area in the country to kill big deer, and you kill big deer. So
yeah,
I think you'll figure it out.
It'll be cool.
I honestly think if you were to take a scouting trip, maybe if gas was $1.50 a gallon, go for it. But
yeah,
right now I think it'd just be a waste of money. Like you're gonna be fine. You're gonna get out there and take a few cameras with you. And
I just spent extra time. I was going back and forth with doing that, and then I just spent extra time scouting back here and getting all my prep done and getting some rut funnel stands hung up and ready, and in case I was out there until almost Thanksgiving.
Right.
So then when I got back here, I had very limited stuff that I needed to do, and of course I've got a lot of spots back here where I'm just going to hang and hunt, but I've got a lot of rut funnel stands already situated.
Previous year's knowledge,
So,
the
I mean, who
lay
knows?
of the
I mean, I
land.
could be headed back home, November 10th, with a buck. I don't know, or I could hunt out there until Thanksgiving week, and just not seeing the one that I want to kill. But it's going to be fun regardless.
You might run out of ramen noodles by then, bud.
Yeah.
Be begging on the corner.
Yeah, I'll be sick at,
Cup of noodles for broadheads.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to take a ton of food with me. I'm just going to try to stay as, food and taking a shower, underneath the end of the awning of that rooftop tent. So we'll see. It's going to be a wild trip. It's going to be fun.
You could have a webcam and sell the footage for money for food.
There's going to be some, you hunt for a month straight. There's going to be some very interesting stuff happening.
Yeah.
So,
look at the guys from THP.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. All sorts of crazy stuff.
I'm surprised Zach doesn't have dreadlocks by the time them guys are done.
Yeah, that's the way it is. Elk hunting, you go 4 or 5 days without taking a shower, it gets pretty interesting. So, but I'm getting more and more equipment as I'm going, so I think I'll be able to just. My truck's going to be the home base, and if one area isn't happening, I can just, jump in the truck and drive to another chunk of public. And I'm going to try knocking on some doors out there if I need to as well, and I'll make it happen. I'm excited. It's I'm working my whole summer away, so it's hunting season's going to be here before I know it. It's already July, so
Yeah.
I'll be elk hunting in September, and then when I get back from that, it'll be October, and man, it's just going to be a whirlwind after that. So
Yeah, with your season based around that trip, it's gonna sail right by. What's your plan? I mean, you're going out elk hunting, which is another. We're gonna do another podcast about that because it's something I'm super interested in. Will do someday, but so, early October, you're just gonna be scouting around, moving cameras. Or you gonna get out? Maybe you get a cold front, you get to get out in Vermont or something.
Yeah, I'll be the only thing open then is Vermont and New Hampshire. I'm probably just going to gun hunt. If I hunt New Hampshire, I'll just gun hunt it, and that's if they get snow. So I'll probably just concentrate in Vermont. I'll either try to shoot a good bear in the beginning of October. There's, depending on what we have for food sources. It looks like we got a lot of apples this year. A lot of apples, and hopefully the acorns are going to do good. I could see quite a few on the trees the other day.
I just hate that field.
Yeah, that field's got to sit for once they get all the hay
there
off.
Ain't going to be nothing out there.
Another week, it'll be good. But that first week of October, I've got a couple bucks in mind that are in Vermont, but they're just so hard to kill that first part of October. And honestly, with one buck tag in Vermont, I've got a lot of time to get snow.
Yep.
And then go track a buck and shoot him with a rifle or a muzzleloader. So mainly I'm going to be
Woodman arms.
Yeah, absolutely. The main thing is I'll probably be still getting everything prepped for Massachusetts, and possibly looking into New Hampshire a little bit at the beginning of October, but it's most likely when I get back from Colorado, I'm still going to have some carpentry work to go meet with some clients or something like that, and I'll use that to get ready because I'm planning on hunting the whole month of November. So.
Yep. So we'll switch gears a little bit just in case we don't. I imagine we're going to see at least a doe or something, but let's just hypothetically say, we see a giant buck in that field right there.
Yep.
So, and the whole back of it is public hunting, just you're in a new area, you see a big buck in the summer. It's posted signs or like, all the ones we're seeing. But what is your strategy? Like, how are you see a big buck, let's say it's late August, he's almost fully grown. still in velvet, you see a big buck. What are you doing? Like, what's your next goal, or what's your next step?
The first thing
I've seen him.
The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at a map as to where I just saw him.
Yep.
And see what there is for surrounding. You know, what is there? Are there any clear cuts nearby? Is there, you know, what are there for ridges around there? Is there, you know, what is it backed up to really big timber?
Now, why the ridges?
The steeper the terrain is, the more it funnels deer and terrain, and
okay.
I like terrain
yep.
more than flat rolling country.
Yep.
you get a big ridge that's in the background with deep ditches running off of it and good saddles and good contour and character. You know, I'm starting to figure out where I'm going to be able to find primary scrapes, and you know, I'd start looking at the background of where I saw him, and if he's in velvet, I'm going to plan on it. You know, he may hang around there once he sheds, but a lot of them deer, once they shed velvet, they're going to do a shift 2 or 3 miles. Sometimes, you know, depending on whatever the food source is.
So let's
I'd look around, try to find some oaks.
Let's shift over a state to New Hampshire that's got a September 15th opener.
Yep.
Now, how does it change?
See, I mean, I
know you haven't.
That's
really
one weakness is
I
don't early season hunt deer a lot because I'm always elk hunting. But the white oaks always drop a lot earlier than the reds, so that's something you got to kind of figure out. You know, putting your feet to the ground. And a lot of them deer early season are going to be relating to water. And, you know, there's cover everywhere because everything's full foliage and everything. So the security cover, it's a little harder without spring scout, and it's really hard to figure out, like, where those deer. The bedding, I think, is the most important thing to know about deer. And sometimes you have to go in there and bump deer to figure out where that bedding is if you didn't figure it out in spring scouting, you know.
Right.
I think the food sources can change as they do throughout the year, you know. But the bedding is key, because if you know where that deer's bedding, you know you've got a lot of information to kill him right there.
Yeah.
So the number one thing I try to figure out is where that deer would be bedding, and then if I'm trying to get pictures of him, to figure out where he moved to once he shed velvet. Of course, that's, you know, they're going to start working scrapes that first part of October, end of September they start making them. So, you know, where they're pawing the ground pretty established. They work those licking branches all the time, but they're hard to find if you're new to the area. You know, it's kind of hard to find them. You can find them, but
unless it's super obvious, like a hemlock.
Yeah.
You know, a lone hemlock on a saddle or on a bench that the ground looks like that. You're like, okay.
Yeah.
And you walk up to it and look, this branch is broke, that branch is broke.
Yeah, intersection of log roads and stuff. But, you know, when I find a big buck like that, that first year especially, I'm just trying to learn as much as I can about him. I honestly don't.
You don't have
really
like a plan to hunt him.
You know, I mean, I'll hunt him and everything, but I mean, a lot of these big deer that I've killed have been a 2 or 3 year process to kill them, you know. And a lot of times what's awesome is seeing a big buck, and it may lead you into a new area, and it's going to take you a couple years to really figure that area out to get it dialed. So, you know, seeing that big buck may not be, you know, killing that particular deer, but it can open up an area that's even better. You know, that's got a buck in it even bigger than that one. You know.
You know he exists now. It's
and there's a reason a big buck lives there. Like, there's a buck there that's 4 or 5 years old. Well, the reason that he's 4 or 5 years old is there's something about that spot that allows a buck to get that old.
Right.
So that's just as important. Like, you know, habitat is something I look for before I look for, you know, instead of trying to find the deer. Like, I look for habitat that could support a deer to get him that age, you know, and then find a nasty side hill covered in mountain laurel and thick swamps and steep ridges and hard access. I'm just like, I'm going to go check that area out on a map, because, man, a buck could get some age on him there. And, you know, that's what you usually end up finding. So it's all about just doing something other people aren't doing, especially when you're trying to pound on the public. You know, You're dealing with guys that are of all different skill and tenacity levels. There's some guys that just hunt on the weekends and
Yep.
they just want to fill a tag or whatever, and then you got small game hunters. You got all that stuff that all amounts to pressure.
Yep.
Whether they're trying to kill that deer or not, that deer doesn't know. He just
has no
knows there's
idea.
guns going off. There's human scent. There's all, so it's
Potentially a bird dog.
yeah. It's all they got to deal with all sorts of stuff. So you got to find some spot that they can get some age on them, and then find in that spot that they feel comfortable. And a lot of times you find that spot where they feel comfortable when you get snow on the ground. You figured out, where there's a good buck and know what chunk of woods he's in, but you haven't been able to see him out of a stand or anything like that. Man, you could get 4, 5, 6 inches of snow on the ground, and you go in there and cut either that buck's track or another really good one. And you could learn more in that one day of tracking a buck around in that mountain than you'd learn in, 2 weeks of even prime springtime scouting. You can learn a lot about a buck following him around. Especially if you can leave your Onyx on tracks, and it'll record how you walked. You'll walk by some really good sign, you see a signpost rub or something, punch it in on the map, and then you go back and look at that map later, and it's like, wow, look at that. He went through that saddle, and he went along that bench, and you can see how everything kind of makes sense, how they use the terrain, and it's cool putting those pieces of the puzzle together. So when I find a big buck like that, usually it leads to a lot of times it leads to a 3 or 4 year adventure. Because that deer, if he's 4 or 5 years old, he's probably not going to get killed by anybody else. He's survived that long.
He's figured it out.
He's got some shit together. So that's even if he's 4 years old, there's a deer out in the field. They do exist in Vermont. It's amazing. Looks like a couple does. There's nothing with any substantial headgear on.
No. We'll put the video on them.
They're actually both bucks. They're both year and a half old bucks, I would say.
Frame them up.
Yeah.
We got some smashers right now. We're videotaping people. I saw a dead fawn today. That sucks. You hate to see that. Little one didn't make it across the road.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of them running around on the road, and they seem to make it, but
yeah,
there's a lot that don't.
You notice how sometimes you see the fawn goes across the road first, or mom goes across the road first? Do you think that's older does that are all right, it's better, I'm not going to let little run out there first and get hit by a car?
It's probably just
you think she's seen that before and
it could
learned?
be just experience level. If it's a 2.5-year-old doe with a fawn, I saw that classic example. The doe ran across the road the other day, and the 2 fawns were bouncing around on the yellow line. I kind of stopped the truck right in the middle of the road so no one would hit them. Everyone stopped, and the fawns were just bouncing around on the road. The mother's just standing down there in the woods
There's another one out
they'll
there.
figure it out. Yeah,
There's
two
two
other deer coming down. They're both those. They're all different. Who knows what the deal is.
I always wondered that if because or it's just the kid is going to do what it wants anyways.
Yeah, a lot of
maybe it's the fawn's personality. I know I'd rather follow you.
Yeah, probably a button buck then.
Yeah, maybe those are the ones that make it to 4 or 5 years old when they're like, no, you show me how to do it.
Yeah, well, a lot of times I think some of those big bucks are it's just happenstance that they have a little honey hole to live in because their mother had it figured out. You know? She knew where to hang out.
Well, they say those are the hardest deer to kill is the old granny doe that.
Oh, absolutely.
She's 10 years old. She's
Yeah.
10 years old, and she done raised all these deer, and she can't get pregnant anymore or whatever, and
how many other deer has she seen get shot? And
yeah.
She knows hunting pressure every year. You know, yeah.
She instills it on those. Some of those have made it to 6 years old or whatever. Some of the ones she raised.
Yeah. Yeah,
it's interesting. They're a really, really fascinating creature.
Yeah, they're experts at survival. That's for sure.
Yeah, and they've been around for I don't know how many thousands of years, you know.
Yeah.
Or hundreds of thousands of years or whatever. And they're still around.
Yeah.
They go through peaks and valleys. There's a lot of them, and then there's none of them, and then there's. Right now, we're experiencing. I feel. I mean, this is my 12th season. But you know, my Uncle Danny. Like a lot of my uncles are hunters, and like this right now, this is as good as it's been in the last 5 years, 6 years.
Yep.
We've had easy winners, and
it should be a really good year this year. We had a really good winter, and the acorns were spotty in our area last year, but I did not find one single dead deer in all the miles that I walked this spring.
Yeah, you did well over 100, didn't you?
Yeah, I did over 100 in March.
Yeah.
And just
you think if there was a lot of winter kill, you'd have seen at least one.
I would think. I mean, that's where I was. It was where they all yarded, you know, picking up antlers. So I didn't even see much for predation where I was. I mean, there's a couple spots down by the roads where you saw deer got run out on ice and stuff on the brooks. But
yeah.
That's going to happen regardless.
Dude, did you see that you've seen that buck that Pat found?
Yeah.
Pat from Hunt Suburbia.
Yep.
What a crazy event that was. Thing was still alive.
Yep.
Just coyotes.
Oh, coyotes are brutal, man. Yep.
Yeah,
up our way, they're, we got those coyotes are big, man. They're pretty effective, especially you get 2 or 3 of them. But a big bobcat is, you know,
that's true.
They kill a pile of deer too.
Yep, little ones.
Especially the small, you know, those 60-pounders and smaller. And I'm seeing more and more cats every year. I mean, I've got bobcats on every trail camera.
Yeah, that's true too. I last year I had a lot of bobcat encounters that I hadn't. I'd have 1 or 2.
Yep.
You know, last year was a lot, and then I do agree with that. I do have a lot on trail camera.
They're running across. You know, I see 3 or 4 every fall run across the road in front of me down there, especially in Mass. There's a lot of cats in Mass.
Now, do you think that laurel helps them?
Oh, they love that, man. Yeah, that thick laurel and real ledgy side hills. They love ledges. They really love ledges and thick cover. They're really cover orientated, unlike a canine, you know. And there's rabbits in that laurel, and a lot of spots down low elevation, and that's kind of their bread and butter. But they do kill some deer.
Oh, they're opportunists, and they're cats. They're just they were designed.
They're awesome, man. If
I
was a bobcat, that's what I'd be doing. They're pretty effective. You take a 30, 40-pound bobcat. I mean, a 40-pounder's a real good one, but I mean, pretty.
That would be a smasher in the bobcat world.
Yeah, he's a pretty formidable.
Maybe a 200-pounder.
Yeah. I mean, they shoot them up to 40 pounds. Those guys that are hunting bobcats quite a bit, they'll shoot one bobcat a winter that's that big, but a lot of them are in the 30s.
Yeah.
You know, a big mature tom.
Or Rick Labby and those guys that hunt them like.
Yeah, what was that one he shot? It was like 40, 47.
40-something, yeah, 40-something pounds.
In mid-40s or better. That was a beauty. Yeah.
That's a big cat.
Oh, it's a monster. Yeah.
I would legitimately be afraid of that.
Yeah.
If that wanted me dead, I would have to. I don't think it'd take me out, but I think I'd be pretty messed up.
You'd want it to be dead before you put your hands on it. Put it that way.
Yeah. Well, unless it came from above.
I've shot him up.
DFA,
into like
death from above.
I've shot him up into that 30, 35, 38 pound range, but I've never broke 40. But a lot of the guys that I know that are
field.
A lot of guys that I know that are serious bobcat hunters have shot some, 40, 41, 42, something like that. But
folks, we might not have too many on video.
It's a beautiful night. You think
it is.
There would be deer everywhere, but
we're running out of daylight. It's 20 and 9.
We're just not in the.
We're not in the chips.
We're not in a real popular part of the state.
No.
Some beautiful fields, just. Not a lot of deer. I'm surprised we haven't seen a coyote or something.
Well, he might up here by the farm. But, like, look at this, dude. This is, like...
Yeah, that's a nasty... That's full of cottontail rabbits, too.
Oh, yeah.
That's
yeah.
the kind of stuff like we see in New York, and it's just loaded with cottontails. And that's where when we were running the bobcats with dogs, that's where we'd always go. And,
don't mind us. We just driving around with headsets on.
Yeah, they didn't look over. The turkeys have done good, man. I saw a pile of poults the other day.
Yep.
There were 2 hens, and
I almost mowed a few over
there had
today.
to have been 25, 30 poults easy, and they were all like a little bit bigger than a quail.
Yeah,
flying around, and man, I think the turkeys are really doing good. The population should be pretty high. It was such a dry spring. I just think they had a really good hatch.
The group I almost hit with the work truck today was like various sizes of, generally softball size to baseball size. But there was like 10 of them. And she couldn't figure out. She was trying to get them across the road, and I came up on them, and I freaking locked up the brakes. And so she gave up on that because half of her poults were on the other side of the road. So she gathered the ones that she got across and brought them back across the road.
Yeah,
I got some of it on video, and I'm just going, Mama, you
just get in the woods, and I'm gonna go right by.
You're failing.
It'll be all done. Yeah.
But geez, I was close, dude. I was like, I jammed those brakes. I thought I was gonna run over a poult or two, but I didn't. And you could hear them all peep, peep, peep,
oh,
peep.
Going crazy.
Peep,
yeah.
Peep yelping.
Yeah. Yeah, we haven't mowed any of the fields around the farm by my house, but I'm sure there's a pile of fawns. I see a ton of does running around, but the grass is so high you'd never see the fawns. So once we mow that field, then we'll be able to tell how many fawns we got running around. But I got a feeling the deer did really good this year.
Yeah.
I haven't checked any of my cameras either. I keep seeing people posting all these pictures of velvet bucks and stuff, and I've got I don't know how many cameras out there. I'm just like, no, I'm not touching them. Not touching them until I get back from elk hunting end of September.
Well, it's irrelevant to you, really. I mean, you're.
Yeah, I just want to see the.
You're not gonna really be using any of that intel.
No, not right now.
But you just, I don't blame it. You want to see them.
Yeah, I just want to see what's on the cameras. But it's there should be some really good bucks around. There's 3 or 4 good bucks that I have sheds from that I know they made it through hunting season and everything, obviously, because the antlers are at my house. But I'm just hoping they put on some size. They should have with the light winter, their body weight should have been up good. So everything should have went for antlers.
Hopefully, that went into their heads.
Yeah. And one buck, I've got 2 years worth of antlers from him now. So be curious to see what he does from a jump from 3 to 4. That's what he's going to be doing this year, 3 to 4 years old. So he should do a pretty significant jump. He's got really good tine length for being an 8-point. He's probably always going to stay an 8-point. He was an 8-point first year too. But, and there's a couple other good bucks that just showed up late. Were there November, and then they ended up coming back into there after the rut and shed on there too. So,
what's your like your October strategy? I know some people, try to get super aggressive and hunt them when they're more patternable, but you seem more the type that just kind of figure out what's around, and then when it comes rut time, just like.
I mean, my favorite time to kill those bucks is pre-rut, like just when they're starting to ramp up.
Scrape week.
Yeah, they're starting to work scrapes, and that's because there's so much food around us. We got real big chunks of woods, and we've got tons of food in October. There's acorns all over the ground.
And then the browse, and then it's almost just limitless.
It's like, I could try to crowd some of those bedding areas where I think some of those bucks are bedding, and try to get real close and kill him that last 40 minutes of daylight, when he gets up out of his bed and just covers that 150 yards. But man, it's like I'm just getting everything caught up with work that first part of October, and then I know I can kill them once they start working scrapes, because then they just start being on their feet just a little bit more. And I don't quite have to crowd that bedding area quite as close. And I love killing bucks over scrape lines. It's like that last week of October is when I've killed all my best bucks with a bow.
Yep.
And it's just they really respond good to calling then. I've had real good luck grunting and doe bleating, but the buck grunt is like super effective that time of the year. Because once it gets to be the rut, sometimes I've had bucks they walk by, they're in zombie mode. You're either in the right spot or you're not.
Yeah, almost
sometimes
can't stop them.
Sometimes you can't get their attention, can't do anything with them. But man, that last week of October, you can grunt to them, and it's like you yelled his name. I've had them just come running right over, and I mean good bucks, 4-year-old plus bucks on public land. So I mean, I'm gonna miss not going down to New Jersey this year hunting that public. That's really a lot of fun.
Yeah, that was a yearly thing for you, right?
Yeah, I hunted down there quite a few years, and that's really it's nice. It's like it's right on the border of PA, so it's all big steep ridges, and there's some agriculture down low, and that's steep terrain. It's just that's what I love, man. I can figure them deer out in that steep terrain. So,
but yeah, I don't know. It's not looking too great tonight, but.
What have you got planned for this fall? You gonna go to Maine or?
I don't really know. I that's all gonna depend on what Mama Nature throws.
Yep.
Throws our way. I'd like to get up there and film Timmy again. Try to make another one of those. Last year was a bust, but yeah, I don't know. I want to try a little harder the early season. Like instead of being like I don't understand it, I'm just gonna go out and fail.
Oh, absolutely.
And learn from my failures. I got a pretty that buck I showed you. I got a pretty good idea how I can go fail on him pretty hard. But
that's a hell
yeah,
of a deer.
I want to. I feel like after talking to Steve Shirk, he's like, obviously Steve Shirk's a way better deer hunter than I am, but he's like, dude, that mid-September opener is like, he's like, I would kill for that.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, why don't I like do it and like appreciate what I got, Well, I'm sure you'd be in the same boat, but you're in Colorado.
Yeah, I've been obsessed with elk all through my shit ever since I was 19 years old.
I'm definitely going out.
Yeah.
It's probably the first year I'll go out and film, film you, but
I hunted a little bit in New Hampshire. Hunted a little bit in New Hampshire early season when I was in high school and stuff, just because it opened up before our bow season. But man, once I got out there and hunted elk, I was just like, man, this is what I'm doing every September. But I can see how that early season is awesome. I mean, just for me looking at my cameras that I have in Massachusetts, I can see how much daylight activity I got of good bucks as soon as they, while they're in velvet, and then just as they're coming out of velvet. If it's a year where there's no acorns, man, you could kill some of them big bucks early season and clear cuts and near swamp edges, and man, good daylight pictures. But once it gets to be like that October 5th, man, everything just changes. They just turn, they start. There's some deer right there. They just start to disperse. They do that fall dispersal. They're not in bachelor groups anymore. And
bald, but we'll show them.
And when they shed that velvet, they go through a change. There's another deer to our right if you back up a little.
Yeah. Either that's. There
we go. Big old doe.
Mama. That's a good one.
Yeah.
She's number 2 on my hit list.
Yeah, was it Pastor Prime?
Pastor Prime. That's Big Mama.
I got to go somewhere where I can get some doe tags. Yeah. That's one thing that really helped me. A lot of people they want to shoot big bucks and everything. I'm just like, man, when you're starting out and you're starting to figure out these deer, my suggestion is go shoot a lot of deer.
Just kill deer, yeah.
And really get your nerves in check for when, just go through the process of getting it done. That deer's coming in, okay, it's hitting an opening, draw the bow back, thump, shoot it. You get better at killing deer by killing deer.
Yeah.
And then slowly you're going to work into
yeah,
wanting another challenge, and then you just,
There's that weird stigma that, like, big bucks, big bucks, big bucks.
I love shooting does with a bow, man. It's so much fun.
That's the.
I love eating venison.
The,
I'd rather eat venison than anything.
Yeah. But, like, just like you were saying, like, that's the process.
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, you can't just jump in head first.
You can't go from, I guess some people did, but high school to the majors.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's a different.
Well, right now there's a lot more. I mean, I don't. It sucks that I consider, I'm getting older, but it's like when I was in high school, when I was in my teens, there wasn't near the amount of info available.
Oh,
and
yeah.
It's like someone starting out right now, just Onyx maps alone I know the word, the term game changer is like used all the time, but man,
it is.
It's unbelievable to have mapping right there, either on your phone or even on a GPS. Mapping is unbelievable to have. It's such a useful tool to have that satellite image, to have that terrain overlay. That Onyx helps me kill more deer than any other tool that I own. It's not even close. I spend so much time looking at maps. I mean, when I get out there to Iowa, I've looked at that ground so much on a map that it's gonna feel like I've already been there. Yep. When I hit the ground out there, same thing with Colorado. I'm hunting a new zone in Colorado, and all of us that are going have been, just looking at maps the whole time we get out there. So we've got drainages marked, we've got trailheads, we've got, all that stuff. You can just save yourself some time. You still got to do a ton of legwork, but mainly the legwork is going and just confirming what you suspected on the map.
Right.
Like I can see these, you may eliminate 25% of them that are duds. Like if I'm looking for a good whitetail spot, a lot of times I'm looking at terrain. That's the number one thing that I'm going to first. And then how does terrain relate to cover?
Yep.
And a lot of times I can find an unbelievable terrain feature, and I'm like, man, it doesn't look like it's got shit for cover there, but I'm going to walk in there. It may be a mile and a half to walk in there. You walk in there, and it's just wide open sugar maples. It's a great terrain feature, but unless that area gets logged, there's no deer activity to speak of. It's not good. But, man, I got another one right over here. Look at this. And I go over there. Boy, look at that. You walk in there, and you can see how cover relates to that terrain feature, and it's a gold mine. It's like they both look the same on a map, but
yep.
you have to walk in there and check it out. And having that mapping like that before, I would buy a map, and it would just be a paper map.
Yeah.
And then you're walking in there with a compass trying to, and now you can have all those terrain features figured right out, and it's like a shopping list. I'm going to go right down A to Z, and I'm going to check all these terrain features that I've got, from all that, all the e-scouting you did on a pouring rainy day or middle of the winter, and now it's springtime. Now let's go check all that stuff out that I've been looking at all winter. That's the fun part for me, is all the preparation.
Yeah. And it's almost, well, it's not almost like it is. Eliminating spots is almost as good as finding good ones.
Absolutely.
Because then you like, cross that off.
100%.
Good. I'm closer to finding the good spot. Like I was telling about finding that guy's mock scrapes in his trail camera. I'm like, perfect. Eliminate this area.
Yep. I'm staying away from this spot. And you can tell there's definitely some guy hunting here quite a bit.
And they were fresh too. I doubt it was the deer pawing at the ground that hard.
Yeah.
He was probably just establishing them.
Yep.
There was two about, 10 yards apart, and his camera was looking down the barrel of both of them.
Well, a lot of times I have good luck making a mock scrape, and I will open up the ground. The deer just love walking over to the smell of that
Yeah.
freshly turned up dirt, and it gets their attention over there. And then if you got you made yourself a licking branch there, it gets their attention onto that. And the sooner you can get them working that licking branch, the better. Like I've made a bunch of mock scrapes and installed a licking branch, either a hemp rope or another beach whip or whatever. And man, it's always exciting. You go look at the camera and you're like, oh, look at that. It was 5 days after I made it. There's the first doe working it right there. Yep. And as soon as you get that first deer to go in there and work that mock scrape, it's like it's going from there. You can't stop it.
Yeah.
And then the deer just start visiting it, and pretty soon it becomes an attraction. If it's in the right spot, if it's where it needs to be. It's fun putting all that stuff together, and like I said, you're hunting a buck like that, and I plan for the worst, and what I planning for the worst is I don't get any snow. So I got to figure out how to kill these deer on bare ground. And man, you do all that homework and you start to figure out these deer, where they're bedding and everything, and then you get snow on the ground. Boy, you can go in there, and if it's a gun season, you can really go in there and get a lot accomplished. You can make that deer dead by 9:30, 10 o'clock in the morning, where you've been hunting him out of a stand for months, if you accounted for all your time the past 2 years.
Do you think about how unique it is up here? I mean,
absolutely.
we went from hunting them not the same way, but the same idea as you would in the Midwest, to tracking snow and almost the same woods.
Yeah. Every bit of gear and clothing that I'm wearing when I'm hunting them out of a stand.
Suburban deer.
Yeah.
Big woods bow deer.
Yeah, you got early season.
You got private land.
Yeah.
You got tracking. I mean, the Northeast is
yeah, you've got it all. It makes you a more well-rounded whitetail hunter, I think.
Yeah.
It definitely does. I mean, because it's hilarious to be, you can be hunting hard during the rut, sitting all day long in the stand, driving yourself crazy, and then all of a sudden you see it's going to dump 6 inches of snow on us. All right. Going back, taking all the Sitka and throwing it in a bag and putting on wool, grabbing the deer rifle, heading for a chunk of national forest. Or if I got a gun season in that state that I'm hunting, then I'm going to go in there and try to kill that same buck that I'm after. But
That's pretty
you
awesome.
can change up tactics, 180 degrees in 1 week.
People look at the Northeast as such a disadvantage. It's just.
It's a lot of fun.
It's different.
Yeah.
You just got to accept that it's, you're not going to see a lot of deer.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
You're just not going to see a lot of deer.
Yeah.
But they're there. There's big ones there. Our big is just different than Iowa's big.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you can judge our deer by age.
We're all looking for 200.
Yeah.
Whether it's 200 inches or 200 pounds.
Yeah.
That's our 200 up here is 200 pounds. The closer you get 200 pounds, that's your booner.
Yeah. My thing that I love is if I can shoot a deer and I know he's 5 years old or more.
Yep.
That's like the benchmark. It's like that deer's been around. That's a hell of an accomplishment, killing a buck 5 years old or older. To me, that's.
There's 2 deer right there. There's no way I'm getting footage of them though. It's too dark.
Yeah,
but there's two standing there. But yeah, why don't we shut this mobile cast down?
Yeah, that was fun.
And something different,
It's hard to predict. I mean, some nights you can drive around, see 1 or 2 mature bucks, and then some nights it's like there aren't any. you don't believe one exists, but I think
they all got the COVIDs and they died.
A lot of our deer, a lot of those big bucks are in clear cuts right now, and then they're making their way out to these fields by 10, 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
If you could spotlight, that's the thing we could do. Can't you spotlight in New Hampshire still?
I don't know.
I think you can until September 1st, something like that. I have
Really?
to check on the laws, but I know they allowed spotlighting in New Hampshire. I don't know if it's still legal or
You
not.
got a spotlight, dude?
I don't.
Well,
I've never owned one.
Yeah, no need for one.
I've had one for ice fishing. But it's not powerful enough to go around it. We need the one that plugs into the cigarette lighter.
Yeah, exactly.
But that would be a pretty cool video if we could go around and spotlight some big bucks in New Hampshire.
Yeah.
So that's pretty unique. But that's where, a lot of them deer, they're coming out in these fields well after dark.
Yeah.
You put cameras back in some clear cuts where it's all raspberry and blackberry briars like that, and you'll get daylight pictures of some of these velvet bucks. But
we get a couple bucks.
yeah.
They were they're a year and a half old, but
Yeah,
that's all right.
They all got to start somewhere.
Technically a buck. All right, man. Good talking to you.
Yeah,
Do
good
this
time.
again.